Hi and welcome back to my beautiful office. Today I'm talking about the R6 and my experience with it over the past 6 or 7 months with filming wildlife. Has it worked for me, or is it something that annoys the crapper out of me? That's what we're going to talk about. Right, so traditionally a DSLR was photography first and filming on the side. So it wasn't a real good picture quality, and it was a pain in the ass to set up because whatever exposure you had for photographing wildlife, that would come onto the video side. So it wouldn't stay separate and have the settings that you use the most. So we have a lot better image quality and a lot better functionality to be able to, at a moment's notice, film that event that happens in split seconds in front of you without too much dramas. But the R6 still isn't really built for filming in all sorts of lighting conditions. So there's some drawbacks there. Because normally I'm using my go-to camera, which is filming me right now, the XF400 camcord. Camcords are what I love to use for filming wildlife. They have everything on board. You don't have to worry about forgetting about leaving something at home like an ND filter because it's built in. I need infrared as well, and it has everything that I need. That's the reason why I bought it for, because it has everything I need to film wildlife properly. When things happen split second in front of me, we don't have much to muck around with. If we need the ND filter up, it's a quick tap. Having the R6 there when I need it is just a godsend. I don't have to bring the XF400 out all the time to film my wildlife. I can rely on the R6, especially this year where I've been studying the dusky antechinus. I haven't been able to have that experience before, so most of the time I want to photograph, but there's instances there where I'd love to get this on film as well. So I just quickly press a button and we're off filming. Right, so let's get started talking about the actual setup of the camera and my point of view on the bits and pieces. So we'll start with focusing. Now the R6 is certainly up the game in that department, and it's a little bit more trustworthy than it's been in the past in autofocus. But most of the time I'm using manual focusing, so either pulling focus or having it fixed on a particular point, because most of my filming of wildlife is in a fixed position. So the agile antechinus and now the dusky antechinus, they're coming onto a stage that I've set up. I get a little bit of honey, so I'm drawing them in to a certain point. So it's easier to just do manual focusing and make sure that we have critical focus and we're not going to lose it to the background or some other subject that the camera thinks it's better looking than what I want to film. So the R6 will still can wander, but autofocus with eye detect and tracking does work really well. So I've learnt where I can do that and where I can't use it. So if you're wandering around and all of a sudden something happens in front of you and you start filming, I leave the autofocus in a single point. So either a small point or a standard size focus point. That way I'm pinpointing where I want the focusing to be on. And most of the time it's pretty reliable without dropping off to something else. Where it does drop off though is when you're like where I am at the minute, behind the camera is the cow paddocks. So a bird landed on a post or on a branch and there's nothing really behind it. For some reason the focusing system on this camera, it's to do with it being a mirrorless camera, it shoots to the background quick fix with grabbing the ring and try and hopefully pull it back. Sometimes that works. So just about learning and understanding when it's going to fail and when to go over to manual mode. Now when I'm filming wildlife, we have certain situations where we have to wait for our subject to turn up. So the XF400, I just leave that on. I'll go for an hour and a half before maybe my subject turns up. And it just suddenly appears. So that's why I leave the camera on, ready for action. All I have to do is hit that record button. Camera is ready to go. Can't do that with the R6. There's a few reasons for that. One is battery life. It'll just suck the battery life right out of it. We're lucky to get to an hour. The other one is overheating. And that's an issue. So we have to turn it off. Turn the camera off, wait. But there's a problem here, a big one. Canon, you idiots. I don't know why you've done this, but it does piss me off. I'll manually focus on the point, a nest in this bracken I had the other day. And this is when I found out this problem. So I then turn the camera off. I'm waiting for the subject to come back, thinking I've got everything ready to rock and roll. All I have to do is turn the camera on, get that slight delay, and then start filming. When you turn the camera off, the focusing goes off. It goes back to infinity. Wow, what a pain in the ass that is. So it makes it useless for that sort of situation. I couldn't use autofocus, so we got to quickly go to manual and get it back again. That takes time, and it's all right if you see your subject coming and you've got time to turn the camera back on, get it going, but that doesn't happen with nature. Nature just goes, bang, there it is. Did you get it? Oh, bad luck, mate, if you didn't focus quick enough. So it's a pain, and it makes this camera less usable and the XF400 much more appealing, because I can do that. Even if I turn the camera off, if I decide I want to reserve batteries, I have used up too much waiting for my subject, I know when I turn the camera on, it's still in perfect focus. Now another reason that I would grab the R6 over the XF400 is when the light's getting low, like it is now. The sun's gone behind the clouds, it's getting grey, dark. This is where the R6 really comes into the play for filming wildlife for me on these dull, horrible days. The image on the XF400, it suffers a bit in that department. Doesn't look as nice as it normally does. And we can't push it too far with the gain in there. So 24, as long as we're up around that, and if it wants more, well, that's just the end of it. We have to stop filming because we get a lot of noise and artifacts. With the R6, we're going up to 6,400 with only a little bit of noise around. So not artifacts, just that bit of heat haze sort of effect. But I'm finding even on a dull grey day like it's gone now, that I wouldn't probably be going over ISO 3200 anyway. And that is really clean. No noise at all that I can see, even pixel peeping. So for me, it makes it quite appealing to grab the R6 and leave the XF300 at home on a dull, rainy day. Well, it's time to talk about the video modes that we have. So we have auto and manual, which is a great improvement from cameras I've had in the past, that is for sure. So if we want to capture something as we're photographing and we don't have time to go into manual mode, we can just hit the record button and we instantly into automatic. So to be able to capture something instantaneously without actually taking my eye off the viewfinder. So I've just been photographing something right, I can get a little bit of footage. That's all I need, just a little bit of footage. Hit that on button for the video mode. Auto mode takes over and we're instantly filming. It does all the exposure for you and everything, but that's not ideal. It's never ideal to not have control. But in those instances where you know if you try to go over to manual mode, you're going to lose that event. If we do get a little bit of choppy movement because the shutter speed's gone up over 1,000, something like that, or the aperture's gone right up, yeah, we're certainly going to get some sort of movements. But in certain situations where things aren't moving fast, then we're not going to notice that sort of problem. But if we are talking about fast moving subjects, then I would definitely go over to manual mode. So going into filming mode, we don't get aperture priority or shutter priority, we just have full manual settings, but we can go into auto ISO if we need, and that's really handy if you're tracking something like a bird in bright sky and it comes down to the tree line, so very handy for that. We get a lot of other controls the same as we do for photographing, with white balance, change that to Kelvin temperatures, whatever we want to do there. And the same with our colour profile. Let's turn that back on. Full audio manual control if we want with the audio. Strong, harsh sunlight is going to affect me pretty bad. So going down to the ISO 100, I can't go up too high with my aperture neither. So, you know, occasionally I'll push it to 10, maybe 11, and put the shutter speed up to 80. We're pushing the boundaries here a lot, and depends on what my subject does. It might get a little funny, but if we had ND filters, definitely, you know, we could film properly and do all that. It'd have to be a magnetic system so that I could take the filter off when I'm photographing and then quickly throw it on for me to use this 100% over the, bringing the XF400 out. But otherwise, look, this has really made me use this camera a lot more than I've ever used my DSLRs in the past. I've had to swap over to the Osmo Action camera because the XF400 ran out of batteries. I didn't check before I came out. But anyway, we're talking about slow motion with the XF400. It's a slightly soft image, but there's not a lot of artifacts, so it's fairly clean in that department. Get it into a nice environment where there's lots of good light. It works fairly well. That I will only use it to demonstrate my subject, how it moves. So if I put that into a documentary, it's passable if I use a small short clip. But yeah, it's not sharp and a great image. It's okay in a pinch. Well, the R6 has a much faster sensor speed than the XF400. So it does a little bit better job. So it's not quite as soft. There's still a slight touch of softness about it. But as long as we're not right up close to the subject, having it full in the frame, we're pulled back a fair bit, then it's a lot better. It's not showing that there's not a lot of detail in the fur, like the Agile Antechinus and the Dusky. So it's still a little soft, but it is an improvement over the XF400, that is for sure. That's my go-to for slow motion now, the R6. And with the R6, I have a little bit of a problem as far as H.265 is concerned. My programs don't have the codecs for it. I use Premiere Pro CS6. Now I am not spending more money and going to hiring Premiere Pro CC. So the latest version, just so that I can use the codecs in this camera. So we can't use log. Now I certainly have filmed in log and I can see it on Canon's Digital Professional. I can review my images on there, and I can apply the LUT in the program. So yeah, I don't have this ability to be able to use the higher dynamic range of log 3. I can only use standard, which when you know what you're doing with a camera, standard's okay. It's a great image that comes out of here, and it's compared with the standard in the XF400, it has a slightly better dynamic range. And here's an image to show my subject coming out from nice light into the shadows. So the camera's opened that up and it's showing it really well, but it just shows you that how useful still standard mode is. It's very clean looking, it's nice and sharp. Put it into post, I don't have to touch it. This is my typical setup now with the R6. So I can photograph and film and get pretty decent audio without the noise of the focusing system in auto mode off this lens. So it's not really loud, it's quite quiet, but you can hear it. And putting the microphone on top, it picks it up. So getting it far enough away with this little Rode mini mic just works beautifully. Normally with the XF400 I'll have my shotgun microphone, the Sennheiser whatever it is, I'll splash it up on the screen there, I can't remember, had it so long. I'll have that on a 3 to 4 metre lead out, right up close so I can hear my subject. But in this sort of circumstance where I am at the minute, photographing and filming my subject, I'm not looking for those intricate sounds because it's up on a stage. If it was down on the ground and going to go over leaves and things like that, I'd really want to pick those sort of sounds up. And maybe if it's going to come across one of its peers and there might be a fight, that's when you need that microphone right up close. So for this sort of setup, this is beautiful, beautiful sound, reasonable sound come off this little Rode microphone. So let's have a listen to it now. Well, it's time to wrap this video up, and what better way to do that than with the R6 filming me, so you can have a look at what it's like with doing people. Now, it's been an amazing camera to have in my arsenal, that is for sure. It fixes up a lot of problems that the XF400 has, like low light, slow motion, a couple of other things. So it just fills those gaps. There's no perfect camera, as they say in the classics, but the two working together certainly make a beautiful combination. Now, as far as handheld with stabilising goes, they're very equal. The actual XF400 has a slight edge. Now I am going to get the RF 100 to 500 lens, which will give me much more stabilisation, much more reach. I desperately need it, and I managed to sell a whole heap of gear, and I've actually contracted out quite a lot of my wildlife footage to people who wanted to use them for in their projects. So we made a little bit of money here and there, and we've been saving up for quite some time. So I'm using some of that money for my documentary and pinched a little bit to buy that RF lens, but it's on back order. Who knows when that's going to come? It could take 6 months by the sounds of it. But anyway, let's wrap this video up. Hope you enjoyed it. If you got something out of it and you'd like to subscribe to my channel and get more of this amazing stuff, click on my pretty little face that's down in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Hit the little bell. You'll get notification whenever I do anything else. And if you want to go and have a look at all the other mad and crazy things I've been doing in the past, click on my icon right here at the end of this video. It'll take you to my channel. I talk about photographing and filming in the forest environment, go on adventures, and I take you with me, and I talk about these sort of things, camera accessories and all that, give you my honest opinion on them. Alright, now please, if you'd like to like this video, that would be awesome. Hit that like button. Join in the experiment. I'm hoping that my audience, my subscribers who regularly watch my stuff, which is about 150 of you, that watch my video within the first 30 to 40 hours. If you guys can help me out with my experiment and prove that likes spread your channel far and wide, far more than social media and all the other things. So to my subscribers and any new subscribers, please hit the like button if you like this video. Let's see how this experiment goes. Right, so just remember, if you don't do, you don't get. So get out there and start photographing and filming wildlife, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.